All right, today we're going to dive into a story that starts with, believe it or not, a simple piece of wood. And it ends with humanity basically conquering the entire planet. It's a story about survival, about innovation, and yeah, about the very first arms race in history. So let's just start with a big question. What do you think is the single most important invention in all of human history? I mean, maybe your mind goes to the wheel, or the printing press, maybe even the discovery of fire. And look, those are all fantastic, world-changing answers, but they aren't where this story really begins. The thing is, the real answer, the invention that just fundamentally altered our destiny as a species, is much, much older than any of those. It's a piece of tech so simple, so basic, that we barely even think of it as technology. But it was the key that unlocked our true potential. And that's where our story starts, with humanity's first true superweapon. We're talking about the humble wooden spear. And I want you to get this image of a caveman with a clumsy, pointed stick out of your head. This was a revolutionary first step, the one that took us from being scared prey to becoming very, very capable predators. You've got to wrap your head around the timeline here, because it's just incredible. Yeah, simple stone tools go back millions of years, but the first hard evidence we have for a crafted, intentionally designed weapon, a wooden spear, that dates back a staggering 400,000 years. This wasn't some recent flash of genius. This was an innovation deep, deep in our evolutionary past. And like I said, these weren't just random branches our ancestors sharpened. No way. The famous Schoningen spears they found in Germany, they show this amazing level of sophistication. The makers chose strong spruce wood on purpose, and they carefully carved the tip so the densest, strongest part of the wood formed the point, avoiding the weaker, soft center. This whole process, selecting, peeling, carving, drying, it shows a deep understanding of material science. This was engineering. So, what was the problem this amazing new tech solved? Well, the biggest one we had, staying alive. I mean, think about it. Trying to hunt a horse or a deer with your bare hands is, well, it's a terrible idea, right? It's a great way to get yourself killed. The spear was the first great solution. It created distance, it multiplied force, and for the very first time, it made hunting big game a survivable, repeatable thing. But this first solution, it had a hard limit. Even the strongest, most skilled hunter could only throw one of these heavy wooden spears about maybe 20 meters. That's it. This was the arm's limit, a fundamental biological wall. And to get past it, we couldn't just get stronger, we had to get smarter. And that brings us to the next massive leap. And this wasn't just a small improvement. It was a total revolution in thinking. It marks the moment our ancestors stopped just shaping one thing, like a piece of wood, and started combining different materials to create something totally new, something way better. You see, the problem with a wooden spear is obvious when you think about it. The tip gets dull, it wears down, it breaks. And it's just not sharp enough to reliably punch through the thick hide of a big animal. The solution? Brilliant. Attach a specially made stone point. This is the next level of problem solving. You identify a weakness, and then you engineer a fix. And this is what we call a composite tool. Now, it seems so simple to us today, sticking a rock on a stick, but you have to realize this required a huge cognitive leap. It meant our ancestors had to plan way ahead, they had to gather different resources, and they had to figure out how to join them together so they wouldn't fall apart. It's really the origin of all multi-component construction. And how did they actually stick the stone point on? This part is just incredible. Neanderthals, among others, actually developed a process to create birch tar, basically nature's superglue. You had to heat birch bark to a really precise temperature, between 300 and 400 degrees Celsius, and you had to do it in a sealed container to keep all the oxygen out. This isn't just tool making, this is straight up chemistry. And the results? They were dramatic. Modern experiments have shown that just adding that stone tip increased the damage from a wound by nearly 25%. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but it's the difference between an animal getting away and providing food for your entire group for a week. It made hunting so much more reliable. Okay, so we had a much deadlier spear. Fantastic. But we were still stuck with that 20-meter range. We were still limited by our own bodies. The next innovation, the big one, it wasn't just going to improve the weapon. It was going to break the laws of human biology. So put yourself in their shoes. How do you solve that? How do you throw something farther and faster than your own muscles physically allow? You can't just evolve a stronger arm overnight. You have to think your way around the problem. And the solution wasn't a sharper stone or a stronger piece of wood. The solution was purely intellectual. It was the application of a fundamental principle of the universe, leverage. It was the application of physics. I want you to meet the atlatl, or the spear thrower. And let me be super clear about this. This is humanity's first true machine. It's just a simple lever, really, a stick with a hook on the end. But what it does is act as an extension of your throwing arm. And by extending that lever, it radically, unbelievably multiplies the speed and power you can put into a light spear or a dart. And the difference in performance was just astounding. Look at this. The maximum range went from that 20 meters with a hand-thrown spear to over 100 meters with an atlatl. That's a 5-fold increase in range. All of a sudden, hunters were safer, and their prey had almost nowhere to hide. And the speed? An atlatl dart could hit speeds of up to 150 kilometers an hour. That's highway speed. It's absolutely staggering. This wasn't just another improvement. This was a complete and total game changer. With the atlatl, humans became, without any doubt, the most formidable long-range predators on the entire planet. So this technological arms race, from plain wood to composite stone to a literal machine, it didn't just make us better hunters. It fundamentally rewired our future. It created echoes that would shape everything about who we were and who we would eventually become. This table just sums it all up perfectly. Let's run through it. The simple wooden spear, a crafted tool. It made hunting big game possible. Then the stone-tipped spear, a composite tool, made that hunting reliable. But the atlatl, by applying mechanical force, it made humanity dominant. Each step solved a critical problem and unlocked a whole new level of capability. And from that dominance, you get this incredible ripple effect. Dominant hunting means a stable, high-protein food supply. That extra energy fueled brain growth. A steady food source allows for larger, more complex social groups. And with survival not being a minute-to-minute struggle, we finally had time for art, for culture, for things like those incredible cave paintings. And ultimately, this technology is what powered our expansion across the entire globe. I absolutely love this quote because it puts everything into perspective. The atlatl. It's the first time we used an external tool and a law of physics to blow past our own physical limitations. That line of thinking is the direct intellectual ancestor of every complex machine we have ever built, from pulleys and gears all the way to space rockets. You know, this whole story is about using our brains, using ingenuity to overcome our limits. Our ancestors created the spear and the atlas to solve the huge problems of their world. And that leaves us with one last question for you to think about. What are the atlases of our time? What are the game-changing tools we need to invent to solve the massive challenges we face today?